Rocking the home unis today. What does that mean? Time to defend the den, baby. Back in Detroit this week after a road win last week against Minnesota. Another NFC game. It's got the 4-2 Detroit Lions hosting the 2-3 New Orleans Saints. Lions are 2-1 at home. Saints are 0-3 on the road. Saints are just not very good on the road. They really haven't been in a long time, even when they won the Super Bowl. I mean, they won, obviously you win road games, but they are dominant at home and just average to below average on the road. So, but it is in another dome, so we'll see this Sunday. Basically, I mean, the storylines to go into this game, obviously other than the injuries, we'll get to that. Two big injuries, one for each team, so we'll get into that in a second. But this is really a desperation game for New Orleans. I mean, the division for them is wide open. None of the teams in the division, the Panthers, Falcons, Bucks, none of those teams are really playing that good right now. So even though Saints were off last week, they didn't move at all because the Panthers tied, the Bucks got whooped again, and then the Falcons lost to Chicago. So it's wide open in the NFC South for the Saints, but still, they were, like I said, they're 2-3, lost all their road games. They lose this one, and they're guaranteed at least, at best, 500 on the road this year. So they got to win this one. Coming off a bye, having 2 weeks to prepare, 2 weeks rest for this one. It'll be a big one. Another storyline here is Lombardi, Lions offensive coordinator, as you know, was the quarterbacks coach for New Orleans for the last, I think, 7 seasons. So you got, a lot of the stuff that he knows down there from New Orleans. So, this is a big game for him as well. The funny thing is they already said if the Lions win, they won't carry him off the field like the Bills did with Schwartz. So it's a big game, but at least they're humble. So it's another game, more than likely, like I said, I'm going to talk about injuries in a bit, but more than likely we're not going to have Calvin. So again, all this week, of course, how the Lions going to do without Calvin. Lions are 2-1 this year without him. I mean, you can count the Bills game and the Jets game as having him in, but I don't count those 2 games because he had 2 catches and only 2 targets against the Jets, and he had 1 target for one catch for 1 target against the Bills before he went out. So I don't really count those games as him being in the game, because even though he played, he really didn't play much, and he got hurt pretty early in the 3rd quarter against the Bills. So they're 2-1 without him. Really should be 3-0. So all this, we're scared how the Lions are going to play without him, I think is overblown. In the past, yes, but this season so far, it hasn't meant much. Haven't had a healthy Calvin since the first half of week 3. So that's a big, just to monitor how he does. Can he spread the ball around? Can he get to more people than Tate? That's a big part of this game. Really, I mean, the question everyone's been asking themselves, really about 2 teams in the NFL, Dallas and Detroit. Are they for real? Is this defense just a product of the offenses that they played, or is it actually this is going to be what it is all year? Looking at the numbers, someone posted up the numbers between this year's Detroit Lions and last year's Seahawks, and out of the 4 categories, I think it was like pass yards per game, total QBR rating for the opposing quarterback, points per game, and I think it was one other one. And 3 of those 4 were actually beating the Seahawks in last year's Seahawks team. So we'll find out. This is the first high-powered offense we've come across. You could say the Packers was a high-powered, so I guess this is maybe the second one. We were able to shut down Rodgers. Everyone's talking about how he's played great since they played us, and that game against us was just a fluke and all this crap. So If we could shut down New Orleans this weekend like we shut down Green Bay, then I think everyone will shut their mouth about it. So, going to the matchups, the 4 big categories: pass offense, rush offense, pass defense, rush defense. This is the first time, even when we went with the Packers, they didn't put up offensive numbers like this. The Saints are second in the league in pass offense with 310 yards per game. Going up against our pass defense, which is first in the league, giving up only 197 yards. I mean, Bridgewater only had 185 last week or something, 188, something like that. He had a few more yards than Stafford had, but not by much. I think it was only a couple yards. So the number 1 pass defense is going up against the number 1 pass offense, maybe without their best receiving threat, Jimmy Graham. So we'll see there. So that's basically a push. Their rush offense is 9th in the league at 133 yards per game, going up against our rush defense, which is 2nd in the league at 73.5 yards given up per game. So again, that's another push with us having a little bit of an edge there. But they haven't had Mark Ingram. He actually had I think 2 or 3 really good games before he got hurt again. So their numbers would probably be higher if Ingram had played all year. So I still give that kind of a push with us with a slight edge. Lions pass offense, which everyone's been crying about all week and saying that our offense is terrible and awful and all this, ridiculousness. We're 14th. I mean, I guess if you compare the hype and what we thought it'd be, it's terrible, but we're still in the upper half of the league in pass offense with 244 yards a game. And that's going up against a very bad Saints pass defense at 268. They give up 268 yards per game. So they have a pretty bad defense. So, pass defense especially, and they lost Jarius Byrd in their last game, out for the season. So that just hurts them even more. So that's edge to the Lions again in that one. Our rush offense is pretty bad at 86.3 yards per game. We've gotten basically no rush or no rushing yards. Our rushing average is very low. I think it's last in the league. Rush yards per carry, and theirs is 15th. So they're right in the middle at 112. So that's an edge to them. So the 4 categories, the Saints have an edge in one of them, and that would be our rush offense to the rush defense. And the rush defense isn't like stout like ours is. I mean, they still give up, 30 some more yards per game than we do. So basically there, we take 3 of the 4 or take 2.5 of the 4 categories with, that the pass getting a half for us, split that one half and half. So we got 3.5 or 2.5 of the categories here. So, edge goes to the Lions in the 4 big categories if you can take them all together. Our 3 keys to victory here, I got 3 things this week. Number 1, obviously everyone knows that offense funnels everything through Brees. So we got to make sure that Brees is uncomfortable. He hasn't looked the same this year. He's still, I think, 2nd in the league. Obviously 2nd in the league in pass yards per game. So he's still putting up the yardage, but there's just something, he doesn't look the same. He doesn't look right. And if they don't have Jimmy Graham this week, it's going to look even worse. Lions had 8 sacks last week, so if we can continue that, just getting pressure, we should be fine, just like we have the rest of the games. Number 2, which this is going to be on the list every week until we can get it figured out, until it's not like, holding our head up, praying every time that Prater comes out. Kicking game is going to be one of the keys to victory, because, last week was another 2 missed field goal game. So Prater's got to step up in the dome. Last week it was pretty windy up there in Minnesota. So that's number 2. Number 3 is ball distribution. Now this was a key last week, so I'm kind of cheating here, but Stafford, I don't blame him, because if you look at, everyone's talking about how great our weapons are, and really, outside of Calvin, who's probably not going to play, and Tate, our receiving weapons aren't as good as people think they are. Corey Fuller, this is his first year. He really has shown nothing. He is no upgrade over Durham whatsoever. They're both just guys. Jeremy Ross was a kick returner for us last year, and he's still a kick returner, punt returner for us. So he's kind of been thrust in the role because of guys being hurt and stuff. They, for some reason, refused to play Ryan Broyles. So, I mean, and Eric Ebron's going to be out this game with a hamstring. So we're down Fourier, Ebron, Calvin, and everyone expects Stafford to put up 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. And it's just, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to me. So, but he's still got to spread the ball out a little bit more. With how bad the line is, these defenses are going to start figuring it out and just overloading one side, and then just doubling up on Tate. So he's got to spread the ball around. Hopefully Ryan Broyles can get in the game a little bit more. Hopefully Pettigrew, they said he's going to be part of the offense, which I think he should have been part of the offense. We paid him like a top 10 tight end, and we barely used him. I think he's had like 5 catches this year. So he's going to be a bigger part of the offense. So we'll see about that. He seems to have a lot better rapport with Stafford. Obviously, they played together since their whole career. So we'll see with that. Those are my 3 keys to victory. I think if we get 2 of those 3, if we get good kicking, ball distribution, we should be fine. Injury front here. There's really, like I said before, 2 big injuries. Calvin Johnson is questionable with his high ankle sprain. Hasn't practiced in 2 weeks. So he's questionable, which is 50-50, but it makes no sense for him to play, especially since, our offense was fine last week. Everyone could say everything about, oh, we sucked, all this. But why open the offense up when you don't need to? Why try to force the ball downfield when you have a big lead on another team that could do nothing on offense? So I think he sits again this week, but the fact that he's questionable and he's 50-50 and might be a game-time decision, I think that we should see him play against the Falcons next Sunday in London. But then New Orleans, Jimmy Graham is hurt. He's questionable with a shoulder. They said he was going to miss 2 to 3 games, and this is the first game that they said he was going to miss 2 to 3. So he might play this week. He's been limited in practice this week, and knowing that the game is a desperation game for him, I wouldn't be surprised to see him out there. But he should, if he does play, he'll be very limited. I mean, a tight end with a shoulder problem, that's not good. So other notable injuries: Theo Riddick is doubtful. Like I said before, Ebron is doubtful. Reggie Bush is probable, so he'll play against his former team. And then New Orleans, already bad defense. Looks like they might be missing their corner, Patrick Robinson. He's questionable. So basically, my prediction for this game, I've been calling blowouts the last couple weeks, but the matchups on paper, it should be a blowout. It's at home. Saints are coming off a bye, which means 2 things: they could either be rested or they could be rusty. It could be it could be rusty. A lot of teams come out rusty after the bye. So, and if they don't have Jimmy Graham, that who are they going to go to? Their second best players are running back, and we have a stout defensive line, so he's not going to get many yards. So I think the offense puts up some points. Maybe we get a turnover for a touchdown. I think we win this game 27-10, which would mean that Prater would kick 2 field goals. We're hoping. So, like I said, man, it should be a blowout. We'll see. Last week was a blowout, like I predicted. Could have been more, like I said, but why risk putting up a lot of points and throwing it downfield when the offense that you're going up against can't do anything? Quickly around the division, we got Minnesota playing in Buffalo this week, Chicago at home against Miami, and then Green Bay at home against Carolina. So out of those 3 games, I got Buffalo, Chicago, And actually, Buffalo, Miami, and Green Bay in those 3 games. I think Miami will take Chicago this week. So that's it. Can't wait till Sunday. And if you have any complaints, anything like that, you think I'm dumb, you think I'm wrong about something, let me know. We can spark a conversation below and make a video. Do whatever you need to do. Spark conversation. So talk to you guys later. Go Lions. See you on Monday.